Just a few wrap-up comments here on some of the things we're discussing, and also to finish off a few more questions I'd like to get answered here from our list of questions. To start with, this picture here is something you might find in an advanced book on why the sky is blue. It's everything we sort of covered here, but it sort of shows in black and white how white light comes in, and it would like to just travel through the atmosphere. Here's the molecules of air, blue light scattered laterally, red and orange light going forward. So it would just basically mimic all of the things I've been drawing for you in the last few videos here, that there's the red light and the orange light and the yellowish light that's going to go forward here. But of course, it's the blue light that gets scattered so-called laterally or out of the beam. And so that's just sort of everything we discussed in an advanced textbook type diagram. So good for you if you can understand something like this. And I think you can. On the topic of that sort of issue of what air does to light, that's what gives us, of course, the beautiful blue sky and the red sunsets, as we discussed. We do have a question out on question number 33 here, which basically asks the question, are beautiful sunsets actually so beautiful? Well, here's a sunset, and if you look at it, it's definitely red, and we know why that is. But the question is how beautiful does this really look to here? So is this really something you would say is beautiful? Because I don't really know, because the sky looks a little yucky to me there. So let me just keep going. It's definitely red in the sunset mode, but it doesn't look so nice. It looks a little, I don't know, hazy maybe. Here's a red sunset also, and I say again, I'm not sure how nice this looks to me here. So I don't really know. And here is something from our local newspaper a while back of a very beautiful sunset over Pismo Beach, something like that. But it looks very nice. It looks like a very nice sunset. But the question is that when they get really nice like this, like a really beautiful sunset like this, really reddish like that, or even something like this, then when they're really beautiful like that, you sort of have to wonder here, what's in the sky? Because a normal sunset that we're discussing, as we discussed a few times now, really just consists, of the Earth like this and all of those air molecules in the way. And I won't draw the whole thing here, but the white light comes in, and maybe you're standing here, and maybe the sun is setting over here, our usual thing. And so the red light is driven by the blue light being scattered out of the atmosphere on the way to our eye. So it looks really, really red like this one, or really hazy like that. Then maybe there's something else in the sky that just isn't our good old air, our atmosphere. And indeed, this picture here was taken when there was a lot of local fires on the Central California coast. So what else do you have in the sky? Well, let's just put some gray stuff in there now. Let's put some soot in there too from the fires. The soot, the very fine stuff that would drift all the way up into the upper atmosphere from fires, tends to have the same effect. In fact, it causes even more and more blue light to be removed from the beam, so it sort of enhances the scattering effect that the normal air does. So more of the blue light gets removed, and so more of the red sort of makes it through like that. So beautiful sunsets have really, really beautiful ones. Might have something to do with some pollution in the air as well. So there's something maybe pollution-wise going on in the sky here, and definitely over here, this just looks like a smoggy day in a very busy city. And I say again, all of the smog and the soot and things, so maybe let's draw some smog up in here too, maybe in purple, would sort of get up into our atmosphere too. And again, they're going to enhance the effect of just causing more and more and more blue light to always leave the otherwise white light from the sun, and so you just get more and more in red coming through. So that's sort of the answer to question number 33. If you see a really, really beautiful sunset with some just amazing red colors, there might be some pollution, fires, and that sort of thing in the sky. So it isn't really all that beautiful. Maybe something else is going on. There's this famous painting here, The Scream, by Edvard Munch. And if you look at the painting, of course, the sky is very, very red. And there's always sort of some issue here about why that would have been his emphasis of the painting here. But oftentimes, the artwork of the time sort of captured what was going on in the sky. In other words, there's a lot of artwork that has things like a very red sky, comets, eclipses, things with the sun, and things that were sort of happening in the sky at that time. So why would he have chosen such a red color? Well, this painting here was actually done in the year 1893. That's when it was painted here. And if you can think for a minute, as we just said, when it gets to be really, really red up there, maybe something else is going on in the sky. And indeed, in 1883, just 10 years prior, Krakatoa, which is a volcano, erupted. So it's possible that a bunch of soot from the volcano, which very often makes it up into the upper atmosphere, can even travel all over the world, just small pieces of volcanic ash, were also up in the sky, again, contributing to this really, really redness that the artist captured. So moving on a bit then, we go to the moon, and this will be our sort of our last wrap-up item here. When you look at pictures of the moon like this, the first thing that you notice is even on a sunny day like this, the sky that you look at is dark. So in other words, this is daytime. This is daytime on the moon. So you can see there's plenty of sunlight. You can see shadows. You can see the moon. This was just a picture taken from the surface of the moon, but if you look at the sky, it looks dark. And this is one of the most famous pictures here ever taken. It's called Earthrise. And once again, you're on the surface of the moon here, and it's looks like a nice sunny day on the moon, but the sky is, of course, black. Now, why would that be? Well, if you go back to what you know now about this business, about what an atmosphere does, is here's the Earth here, and we know that the nitrogen and oxygen molecules in the sky give us a blue sky, but if you were the moon here, if you're the moon now, well, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. There's nothing here. There's nothing in the moon's sky. And so over here in this picture here of the Earth, of course, when the white light from the sun goes through, this ray here, we would never see this ray if we were sitting down here on Earth. It would just pass right over our heads. Why not? It's not aimed into our eye, right? It would pass right over our heads. But as we know now, this interaction with air molecules is kind of something that happens, which sends the blues down, so we see the blue sky that we're used to seeing on the Earth. But on the moon here, if some white light from the sun tried to pass right over, so say we're on the moon, standing here on the moon, that there is nothing here in the moon's atmosphere to send any of these rays down to our eyes. So I don't know, I don't want to draw anything to confuse it, but again, if you're this light ray, you're just going to pass right overhead because there's nothing like an atmospheric gases in the moon's sky to send the light down into our eyes. So even though it's sunny out, it's just going to look dark everywhere. Now, sure, some of the sun's rays might be hitting here and here and here to illuminate the surface of the Earth the way we see, but definitely if you just look up in the moon's sky, nothing but blackness. So this is one of the partial answers, our question number 28. 28 here is one bad astronomy joke. And of course, the bad astronomy joke is, hey, have you ever heard about that restaurant on the moon? Yeah, the food is okay, but it has no atmosphere. Get it? Joke, question number 28. But we also have this question number 8 here, which says, why is the sky on the moon black? And of course, the real answer to that is the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. As I said, light rays are going to pass right over our head. No gases in the atmosphere to scatter them down so we can see. So if you look up in the sky, it just looks dark. And of course, question 8 also here refers to my bad joke. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon, which I already told you about?